Hi everyone, my name is Richards-Donegan and I'm a clinical psychologist at Home Base. Today I'm going to be offering you some tips on how to identify extreme and unhelpful beliefs that lead to intense distressing emotions using a skill called the ABCs. During times of stress, like now during a coronavirus pandemic, we might notice that we're feeling a lot of intense emotions. Things like anxiety, fear, panic even, sadness, loneliness. While it's perfectly natural to experience quite a range of emotions during a crisis like this, sometimes our intense negative emotions are based on our beliefs or the things that we tell ourselves about the situation rather than the situation itself. When our minds produce intense, negative, extreme, and often inaccurate beliefs about the things that are happening to us, we continue to feel intense, extreme, negative emotions that are really distressing and take a toll on our well-being. Often the beliefs we have come to our minds so quickly that they lie outside of our awareness and they influence how we feel before we even have a chance to recognize that we're having these thoughts. That's why it becomes really important to learn a skill that will help us to identify these beliefs that might lead us to feel a certain way. So let's illustrate this using an example. Imagine that you're walking down the street and you see an acquaintance on the other side of the street. You reach out and you wave hi, and they don't wave back, they just keep walking. I'm going to use this board to help us here. So the situation that I've just described is that the person doesn't wave at you. Now, there are several ways somebody might feel about this, but let's just take a couple of examples. Somebody might say if they were content walking down the street before and this happened, that they would continue feeling content, that, oh, that didn't bother me at all. Other people might say, well, she didn't wave at me, I feel really hurt. So we can see already that the same situation produces very different emotions. This is where we need to understand why. If we ask the person who feels hurt what they told themselves about the fact that she didn't wave, they're likely telling themselves something pretty negative about the situation. Something like, well, she doesn't like me. However, if we ask the person who's feeling content, who isn't bothered by this, likely they're telling themselves something very different. Something like, well, she didn't see me. Already we can see then that it's not the situation itself that leads to our emotional experiences, but rather one's interpretation of the event that dictates how we feel. This is the importance of the ABCs, where the A stands for activating event, and this really just means the situation, the thing that happens. In this case, somebody doesn't wave. The B stands for our beliefs, or our interpretations of this event. Notice that when we have different beliefs, we actually have different C, or consequences. And this is really our emotions, how we feel. Oftentimes we walk through life thinking that this column isn't there, that something happens, she didn't wave, and this is how I feel about it. What we're often less aware of is the important role that our thoughts or interpretations actually play in dictating how we feel. That's why it becomes really important to practice identifying what beliefs we might be having that are leading us to feel certain emotions, particularly ones that are negative and interfering. The ABC toolkit is a great way to be able to practice this. Now, this is a relatively benign example, but if we can think about situations that we're experiencing currently, again with the coronavirus pandemic, where our emotions might actually be due to some beliefs that we're holding that may indeed be extreme or inaccurate. So for example, if you find yourself feeling mildly anxious, you might be telling yourself something that's not very extreme, maybe something that's realistic, like there's a chance I could get sick. With this belief, it leads to a non-extreme and maybe helpful amount of emotion, of anxiety, which might promote you to engage in helpful behaviors like hand washing or practicing physical distancing. However, if you're noticing that you are often experiencing extreme feelings of fear or even dread that are really interfering with your ability to live your daily life, That's when it becomes really important to use the ABC to examine what extreme beliefs you might be holding about the coronavirus pandemic that might be contributing to your emotional experience. You might be saying things to yourself that are extreme or unrealistic, like, I will definitely get sick and die, or I won't be able to protect my family and we won't survive, or the world is going to come to an end. Now, these are just some examples. However, we can note that if we are constantly telling ourselves these things, we are constantly going to be feeling intense negative emotions. So, as you navigate the course of your life, and we're all doing the same during this time, please practice the ABC skill. The more you practice, the better able you'll be to identify any extreme or unhelpful beliefs that are leading to your emotional experiences. Once you're able to identify these beliefs, you're going to be able to learn to tell yourself something more accurate and helpful. And you'll notice that as you change your beliefs, your emotions will change too. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay tuned for more tips and suggestions. And as always, if you have any questions about our clinical services at Homebase, please don't hesitate to reach out. Bye.